housing on the table, we can use it again. And thanks to Arnino and Paul Alvarado and the Washington neighborhood for inviting us. We're going to try to get some simple, straightforward business out of the way before we launch into some of the serious things that we really need to consider. So one of them is I want to talk just for a minute about future meetings, how the board feels and other people too, picking one location or moving around. I know there's pluses and minuses. One location, everybody knows where we're going. They know how to get there. They know how to park. If we move around, then we see some different neighborhoods. Now, could I get some opinions on that?
I would actually prefer one location, and McKinley can be a little difficult to locate the first time, but once you get there, then there's no issues with finding it. And I knew in my heart, I knew exactly where the Allen Center was, but in the dark and the rain, almost past the back.
We go right past it and then
we are not at McKinley tonight because there was a conflict. Their room was in use. So any other thoughts?
I tend to agree with your meeting alone better than these different centers, different things that they offer, different things that they need.
You probably all have to speak up to the really quiet. I've had people in the back.
Yeah, if you can't hear back there, you might want to move forward a little bit.
I like the idea of moving around, but as I drove here, I thought in the wintertime it doesn't make any difference because I can't really see the neighborhood and whereas in the summer it would be good.
I can't see what's going on behind me. You want to see my name? Or?
Well, let me ask you a question. I know you're hurrying, but
I'm pointing at the people in the back. I kind of like moving around. This is my home away from home. Other than the Garden Center, I've been in this center more than in another center in the city. And I'd like to see, it's not just seeing a neighborhood, but also seeing the centers and the challenges that they have in those centers. You can see that this is one center, and come to my center in Gardner, it's different. It's certainly different. Roosevelt is very different. It's helpful. I don't know.
I'm with you, Harvey, although I wonder if there's a better way for us to tour those things as opposed to these meetings. I mean, and we only meet quarterly anyway, so finding a new place, but you know, it's how long does it take me to get there? Where am I going to park? Elsie got lost finding McKinley last time. I mean, it does bring, if we move it around, it changes things. But for me, one of the big benefits has been visiting other centers, visiting other neighborhood associations, and really finding out what the problems are in other areas and the opportunity for us to see. So Joan here, ran a bus tour during the National Leadership Institute or whatever it was. Over in the Five Wounds thing, and it's fascinating to have somebody give you a guided tour and show you what the problems are and actually explain things. Maybe that's a different vehicle that we could use where we have a Saturday tour during the daytime as opposed to a Wednesday night meeting here.
Here's another thought, because it just occurred to me. This is a center that is under the reuse policy, and it may go to some provider that may not have access to that in the evening. In the Gardner Center is going to go to based on the reuse policy, and it may or may not have easy access. I know they're guaranteeing the NAC will be able to get in, but I don't know about other extraneous community organizations. And so the question I have from RDA staff is where we'll be able to fit this organization into that. because there's going to be a very limited number of centers. And since that will be under city.
I can take a stab at it. Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Keg from Strong Neighborhood. It's a legitimate question with the community centers going over to reuse. We would need to look at which community centers will be staffed and have access to through Strong Neighborhood staff and which won't. The reuse policy allows groups to register with reuse and then have access to reuse, but a one-time group is a totally different situation than an ongoing standing meeting with the with the partnership with reuse. So we would have to look into this. It's a legitimate question.
That's going to be a little logistic problem.
Yeah.
From what I understand with the reuse policy is part of what they sign up for is it will be open up to the community. Now, one of the things that we're dealing with here is, city getting out of the way. So if that in fact is true, that as part of the contract that they sign, that it's open to community meetings, this falls under that heading, community meetings. If we go ahead with the city get out of the way, then that would give one of us access to that center either by code or key.
It is possible that, similar to, for example, the Burbank Del Monte CNAC meets at the Sherman Oaks Community Center, which is a reuse facility, if they were to host a meeting, then the community would have access. So I think it just has to be figured out. It's not a clean-cut answer right now.
Your heart. Come on over here.
Tracy, our center is small, from Middlefair. My heart is very welcome, and I would love to have you guys there. We don't have enough tables or enough chairs, so that would be an issue. But we're also under the reuse, and we're going to be having Kidango, but they have access to having the community meetings in the evenings and Saturdays and Sundays. So we will be able to use that. This would be a great example to have the other members see what our community is and what our needs are. And I would, love to go ahead and host you guys there, and eventually one day get to see it.
Well, I think, maybe, we can do sort of a survey of what communities are open and, which ones we could use and which ones have the facility. I know Spartan Keys has no parking. I mean, they have very limited parking. Or that might people are using the Spartan Keys one.
We have that issue because we only park in the street, so basically it's just used for the community to go out.
Well, let me just move on to something else. So just take one moment. In March, we were wanting to have another potluck. So to do that, we would need to have a place that would be large enough for 50 or 60 people and be able to, to have a place to put food and have a kitchen. This place, this center looks like it would accommodate that very easily. Yes.
The model that the All Friends of the San Jose Library uses is they have quarterly meetings, and that every meeting is held at a different library. Now, obviously, that's more of a showpiece, perhaps, if you actually have a library, unlike Bascom, than the community center. But what happens is that one All Friends group says, I'll take on the next meeting. They help make sure that the facilities are available. They also since it's again quarterly, they have enough time to prepare for that. So it seems to me that without getting into a lot of format, that we might be best served by using that model. In other words, if somebody really would like to host the next meeting, given considerations of parking and all of the other stuff, and you know best what kind of facilities you have. Do you have room? If we're trying to do a potluck, is that going to be a problem? Is there going to be concerns? How do you deal with the reuse craziness? All of this other stuff. So I think that's an excellent model, and I would just recommend that we do that and not worry about a year's worth of meetings. Let's just make it meeting to meeting. And if no one suggests, then perhaps we hold it at Chuck Reed's house.
I like that. I definitely like that. Put them on my calendar.
Yeah, well, we're just going to start, be asking, if anyone at the table have a community center that would accommodate, say, 60 people and a potluck and party.
For the March potluck, I don't know, they have a full kitchen and they have.
Where else? Can't hear, sorry.
Excuse me, I'd like to make a point of
Mayfair.
information. I've had my hand raised here for a while. I'm Mr. Devermudio from Ottawa Neighborhood Association. I agree with the gentleman in the red in terms of, you need to be creative and use multiple measures in terms of looking at, site visitation. I think it's 5 to 7, so I think, we need to make a decision and move on because it's a lot of information.
By the way, Deborah is one of the leaders of this neighborhood that we're sitting in.
Oh, you Debbie Maria?
A good friend of
Good to meet you.
has been involved with the SNI for many, many years.
It's nice to meet you. Thank you. All right, well, so we just, see, how's everyone okay with like an Mayfair?
I say we say, thank you, Elsie.
Thank you, Elsie.
March in Mayfair.
March Mayfair, okay.
Do we have a date on that?
23.
Okay, and we want to ask all of you to that meeting to bring your NAC top 10 that are non-capital projects. Maybe some of you don't have anything that's not a capital project. I know that it's energizing. But if you have a non-capital project, so we want to suggest, just give a suggestion that you look at those and see if maybe there is, if you still feel that those are important for non-capital, or if there's something you might want to be adding to that. But please bring those to the next meeting. We'll have a discussion about that. Okay, moving on to the bylaws. Steve.
I have not received any comments with regard to the draft bylaws that were sent around, and I move to approve the bylaws as written at the last meeting and that were tentatively adopted at the last meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have bylaws. And so, yeah.
If it's okay, I was actually just can fold mine together into 7 and then let you guys go first. Does that work? Or do you want me to? What do you want me to do?
We actually going down.
Okay.
Come up now. On this particular
So I just wanted to really quickly, I'm looking forward to hearing from the different working groups. Hi, good evening. I'm Kip Harkness with Strong Neighborhoods. I didn't introduce myself. Looking forward to hearing from the working groups on the 4 goals. And I wanted to offer up that one piece of advice and one offer of support. Piece of advice is I really do think it is critical that you as an organization begin to figure out what is most important for you that you can accomplish in a fairly short order, because I do think it is useful to build the organization. The offer of support is to that end, some of what the different staff who are supporting you will be doing is bringing pieces of work to the working groups for your feedback and input so that we can begin to involve you in some of the key pieces of work that we are involved in based on the direction we've gotten from you, and we can get your feedback in shaping that so that those are some of the things that we'd like to see done that are on our work plan over the next 6 months, and we'd like to make sure that we're able to involve you appropriately in them. So that's just sort of the general offer, and then we'll follow up with more specifics within the small working groups. But I just wanted to encourage you to, I know it's tough as you're getting started to kind of, well, what is this, who am I, why am I here? But to the extent possible, if you can identify something small that's meaningful that you can do, that would be powerful, and we will bring you in on pieces of our work program that are appropriate for that.
Thank you, Jeff.